There's people still standing. With those that are standing, please find seats. Yes, you've stood long enough, or you can go now, because there's nothing left for me to say. I can. We now know thoroughly what May the 8th, VE Day. As a matter of fact, if you look up VE Day in 1945, the big day, it was on a Tuesday. And today is a Tuesday, so it's very special today. But anyway, and already you know what, why we went, what World War II was all about, why we went to war. You've already heard the need that we had to stop Hitler, who was moving his Nazis into every country, and we were going to lose our freedom. And we've already heard that, when we sang our national anthem, which is "O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free." And that's what we had to do. So that's what World War II was all about. And I won't go on. You've heard enough of that. Remembering, we've already been reminded 73 years ago. And how can you remember things that happened 73 years ago? Some of you aren't even 73. Oh, a lot of you are that old, I see now. But anyway, you remember well, but some of you won't remember. So how can you be expected to remember? Well, it's important, as you've already heard many times already today now. So, and you can remember reading, or you can remember from listening to veterans who participated. And of course, there aren't so many of them. Pretty soon you won't be able to do that, so maybe that's why I've been invited here. I don't know. What do you want me to talk about anyway? What you want me to? Well, why did they ask me to come here at all anyway? Well, I did participate in World War II. I was in the artillery. And you know what the artillery was. In fact, the artillery is that part of the army that has the cannons, the big guns with big barrels and so on. And there's one right over here, and the gun that's over there happens to be the very kind of gun that I commanded 4 artillery pieces, a troop of 4 cannons, the 25-pounders, that you see over there, and I was in charge of about 30-odd men, 4 guns, each had a crew of 6 and so on, and it was my job. Do you want to hear any more of this stuff? I don't know. What I did, it was, it was my job to control these guns. I'd be told where, those guns are, the 25-pounder's a field gun. It means it's a light gun. It moves, of course, on wheels, but it moves easily, so we could keep up with the infantry. As the infantry advanced, we could keep up with them and protect them and fire on the enemy and with the infantry. And so it was my job to go forward and find places for my guns, and then they'd dig 4 gun pits, and I with my command post crew would dig a pit for my command post from which I controlled the 4 guns, etc., etc. And of course I had to do my turn as a FOO, a forward observation officer, which meant going forward with the infantry as the infantry fought and advanced, and there would be times when they'd be obstructed by, say, an enemy machine gun, and I'd be told by the infantry officer, "Come on, you got to get that guy," and I'd be in touch with my guns, communicating back with them by radio, and I would have them firing, and I would control that fire and try to knock out the machine gun, and so on and so on. Anyway, there's lots more I could talk about. What else? Well, where was this happening? Well, where was I doing this? This was in Italy. Italy, Italy. Why were you fighting in Italy? Well, you know, before D-Day, long before that, Stalin and Churchill and Roosevelt were thinking, a lot of pressure, we got to do something anyway. They met at Casablanca and decided that we could attack Europe through the soft underbelly of Europe. And so the troops went into southern Italy in July 1943. When was D-Day? No, it was 1944. Anyway, so we fought in Italy. It didn't turn out to be exactly a soft underbelly. As a matter of fact, it was a very, very difficult, very wonderful place to defend, very difficult to try to advance because of the Apennine Mountains coming down the center, and the rivers, the Rapido, all those rivers crossing. And when we tried to cross a river, the Germans would have blown up the bridges. And so it was quite dramatic crossing those bridges. And so, well, I could talk lots more about Italy. It was, the biggest battle, in fact, the Battle of Cassino. Have you ever heard of the Battle of Cassino, Monte Cassino? Anyway, it was the worst. It has been called the worst and bloodiest battle in the whole of World War II. Anyway, so because we had to advance, and advancing up the Liri Valley to get past Rome, we had to pass this 5,000-foot Monte Cassino, from which the Germans could fire at us. And I was my field regiment of guns were the first Canadians there. And for 7 weeks, we were at the foot of Monte Cassino, and that was quite dramatic. Every time we fired, the enemy up there could see us so easily. So we had to keep underground a lot. And when we fired, they could land shells on us. Anyway, so much for that. I could talk about other places, but. Anyway, so we fought in Holland for 18 months, and remember, we went into Holland in July of '43, and when was D-Day? Yeah, well, D-Day was in June '44, and we'd been fighting almost a year, and we continued to fight after D-Day while the other troops had crossed the channel and were fighting. But they forgot about us because everybody was interested in the new war going in Northwest Europe. So we became known as, we didn't fight, we weren't at D-Day. And I heard one of the speakers talk about